Hello! In this video, we are going to show you the effects of semantics in the language. Also, you will learn how to use the mechanism of meaning that are vital to successful human communication, obviously through the point of view of semantics, with different tools and strategies that will help English foreign language learners and teachers. As is well known, semantics has different factors related to words, meaning, references, senses, logic, perlocutions, and illocutions. This is really helpful because people could be in context according to the different situations. Here, we are going to explain techniques and how to use them in the classroom.
Now I'm gonna talk about the statement of the problem. The teaching English in Saudi Arabia have some challenges because the teacher used the old teaching methods, such as the grammar translation method. The development of education in Saudi Arabia is recognized for implementing the English in the school as a foreign language and in the universities as an English medium instruction. Although learning is far below despite the fact that the Minister of Education develops the English language curriculum and instruction in schools and universities. This low efficiency is demonstrated because of the limited English resources and the few teaching developmental workshops for English teachers. This can be substantiated by a summary that say that the teachers has pointed out that the students leave the secondary stage without the ability to carry out a short conversation. There are a lot of other factors which also can be responsible for the low level of English. Unclarity in the English language curriculum's aims and objectives, inadequacy in the selected appropriate English materials, teachers' qualification and developments, and student exposure to the English language. So, according to that, we can ask what kind of relationship is between teaching semantics and improving the English as a second language? Well, the answer is that semantics is an important area of word meaning, references, senses, logic, and perlocutions and illocutions. It helps to the students understanding the word's meaning, sentence relationship, discourse, and context.
Well, now we move on to the topic of the study, where we begin to simultaneously evaluate the importance of semantics and syntactic concepts at the time of the language production process. Where the semantic analysis of the writing approach SAW is implemented, which has an impact on the student because it expands and creates the knowledge of words through the analysis of lexical synonyms in English, antonyms, honeymoons, collocations, and connotations. The benefits that SAW analysis brings is that the students, through discussion groups, whether large or small, develop a new vocabulary scheme. Therefore, it facilitates a new lexicon due to deep processing. This gives the new structures which students can relate with events and provide methods of organization new words. That is why semantics helps to student ability to acquire new vocabulary effectively to use in the social or interactive contexts. Falls emphasize the importance of learning and implementing the acquired vocabulary of the second language profoundly relate to how ESL, EFL teachers design and tailor the lesson to student needs. Therefore, teachers must design meaningful activities in the process of acquiring new vocabulary for the students, where they are active in their learning process in the area of English. That is why one of the challenges that English teachers have is how to teach the context taking into account what students want to express through their ideas, which includes semantic theories, which are agent, action, and objective, that comply with the function of giving real-life context in sentence with real action. For example, that a student says, there was a misunderstanding on the part of the community regarding the basic problems that were involved in the investigation of the oil companies. This is where the student is asked who or what is the real life agent in the sentence. If the students answer committee, They will have identified a key component of the structure, therefore the student will be asked to reconstruct the sentence having the agent. The action and objective are taken into account, just giving a well-structured sentence such as the committee misunderstood the problems involved when they investigated the oil companies. It should be clarified that this type of activity can be complex for those who don't know how to differentiate between action and agent, for which pedagogical and curricular reforms must be made to promote to develop of composition writing for semantic and pragmatic purpose, so as not to generate misunderstanding signs. If there are failures in this can create a barrier of obstacles to communicating both orally and in writing.
The next is about contextualization and exploration. The study happened in 2019 at South University. 14 Saudi female students majoring in English. They will become English language teachers, and few of them will be writers or translators. They speak Arabic as a native language and English as foreign language. They teacher implement this course content and language integrated learning pedagogy, which is the dominant methodology of the EMI context. The teacher focused on teaching key terms in semantics and then employed the knowledge of these terms to improve students' vocabulary in the short term and their language proficiency in the long term. This course helped to improve students' English language proficiency by studying semantics. The students were exposed to following semantic concepts, referring expressions, discourse, prototypes and stereotypes, derivation, participant roles, etc. In this course, they explored the cognitive faculties that enable people to interpret language in context appropriately, and the study of meanings and how the meanings could play different roles. Theories that ask what kinds of categories, words, and construction detonates are about semantic theories, and those theories that ask how linguistic form is related to a conversational context is about pragmatic theories. And finally, students could produce more powerful text and speech than those who don't study semantics.
So now I'm talking about the planning and implementation of the course. Taking into account his experience in studying and teaching the book, he found that examples and feedback demystify complicated semantic terminologies and make them accessible to novice students and teachers. For that, there are 4 stages. And for the first stage, semantic is described through basic ideas such as sentences, statements, and others, where the students would put into practice doing exercise, taking into account the theory, and finally, the importance of the notion of meaning and reference in the study of the meaning. For the second stage, describe the importance of the dictionary and the meaning of words, and it also describes the information that we can find in a dictionary, such as phonological information, grammatical and semantic information, without forget how a dictionary is used correctly, putting into practice what has been learned through a vocabulary journal activity where the students will increase their vocabulary list, sharing the experience with their classmates. The third stage, a quiz carried out where the teacher created and designed their own question with the intention that a student noted. The quiz was divided into several sections with multiple choice questions and others, and also gave the student guide to avoid confusion in the quiz. By last, for the fourth stage, after doing the readings and guided exam, the students were prepared for the end of the course, where different topics such as reference, meaning, and non-literal meaning were discussed. And after the vocabulary activity was shared to finally, the student consult on the presentation topic, which are lexical development in a context of English as a foreign language and the implementation of secondary education in English in a Saudi school.
Principles of learning and assessment of student learning outcomes. It's believed that the learning process that occurs inside the classroom is not isolated from the outside factors, and circumstances weakly or unwillingly influence students' learning processes. These factors or principles are pivotal, thus we as teachers will take them into consideration before designing a lesson plan. The 7 principles are: A. Students' antecedent knowledge can help or hinder learning. B. How students organize knowledge influence how they learn and apply what they know. C. Students' motivation determines, directs, and sustains what they do to learn. D. Students must acquire competent skills, practice integrating them, and know when to apply what they have learned. E. Goal-directed practice coupled with targeted feedback enhance the quality of students' learning. F. A student's current level of development interacts with the social, emotional, and intellectual climate of the course to impact learning. G. To become self-directed learners, students must learn to monitor and adjust their approach to learning.
Description of cognitive skills to be developed. So here we have 8 items that the course allows the student. The first is develop critical thinking skills to analyze and synthesize the different semantic characteristics with one's own language and other language. The demonstrative the skills of recognize and distinction of different terms of modern semantics. Develop maturity and self-growth in learning about one's own language and other language. Solve entailment problems by applying the basic rules of entailment and presupposition. Demonstrative the skills of independent critical thinking. Identify type of antonyms. Identify lexical relation between words and sentences. Demonstrated difference between L1 Arabic and L2 English in constructed meaning and entailments. To ensure that the students achieve most of these results,
First of all,
a
make
series
sure
of
that they read
strategies
the books.
adapt.
This will be as follows. Asking that before arriving to the class, they read reading answers. Then they were asked to write 6 reading answers during the summer. This was to be able to see their ability learning and make sure they learn the lessons, because before some students could not understand the lesson, and the next reason was to keep track on the teaching methods used. Secondly, it was known that for some students the above activities will be difficult, so to keep them focused on the readings, they assigned 2 quizzes, one before the midterm and one before the final exam. The quizzes, in conjunction with the midterm exam, require the students to study and read the readings more carefully and help them engage with the major problems arise from the readings.
Thirdly, in order for students to take more control over the discussion of semantic and lexical development, each student was made to lead the discussion of a chapter in collaboration with 3 other classmates. Each student discussed a unit. In this way, there were a total of 14 students leading a presentation. This activity makes the discussion session more active. Throughout it, any confusion that student discussion, especially unprepared ones, may create is cleared up. Finally, at the end of the semester, the teacher assigned 2 tasks: research work, optional activity, and mandatory presentation. The main objective of the first task was to have them synthesize different resources using an academic citation style, like APA or MLA, and guide them to become familiar with typical academic works. There were some possible general themes for this work, which were: how is meaning built in your brain to understand new vocabulary? How can we, as language learners, benefit from semantics to improve other language skills? What are the prospects towards the implementation of secondary English teaching in the Scientific University of Saudi Arabia?
In conclusion, semantics facilitates vocabulary learning and develops students' linguistics repertoire. Therefore, sending a clear messages, communicating effectively, and understanding the purpose of the speech relies on how we understand the context of speech and select the appropriate expressions. Thank you very much.